All right, it is 6 o'clock on this November 1st, Wednesday. I'll call this town council work session to order. Recognize there is a quorum present and have Ms. McKay call the roll call, please.
Mrs. Amos,
Here.
Mr. Reed, Mr. Dwyer,
Here.
Mr. Parrott, Mr. Yolen,
Here.
Mr. Hunter,
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here.
Thank you. I believe Mr. Reed informed me he may miss this evening. I believe Mr. Parrott will be arriving in a short bit. First item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Does anybody have a declaration of personal interest regarding the agenda to profess at this time? Not hearing any, we'll move into the first update. The first update is Greenfront Furniture update. Mr. Den Crawley, hopefully you're not going to say Sunday you're open, but we'll see.
Not yet. So okay. How you doing? Appreciate you having me up. I was just kind of wanted to give you all an update of what we are doing in Greenfront the last I don't know, couple years really. So I got about 50. How much time do I have? About just okay, I'll just give you we'll just do it to where it feels good. So anyways, as you know, we're doing a lot. We some of you may know or not know that we actually had 3 different entities that Greenfront was composed of, and now we have 1. So it's Greenfront Furniture. We used to have Accessories Inc. We used to also have a Raleigh location with a different name on it. Now it is all Greenfront Furniture. So it's actually, it doesn't seem like a lot, but by doing that, we've really restructured the whole way. With me and my dad, Diane at Accessories, and some of the back office to really use people to the best of their abilities. I mean, we only have so many employees. We only have so much time, so much space. So just that legal action has really gave us a lot of juice, a lot of runway the last year. We're getting a lot of things done. And, we have an official leadership team, and just things like that really do make a push, especially for a small business. Some people might not think Greenfront's small, but it still is small. So we are professionalizing it in that way. And then, that's kind of on the back end, but a lot of the things you see on the front end, we've been doing with NetSuite by Oracle, our ERP system. So, I mean, we were pen and paper for God knows how long. And, just things like that, the systems, the processes, we're really honing it and, I mean, making it all digital. It's still not perfected, but, we got that big old warehouse out there on Plank Road, and, we've been just trying to make sure we know exactly what we have, and it's been a lot, but you got to, eat the elephant one bite at a time. And then some of the things that are very customer facing, let's just start out with building number 7. I don't know if y'all have seen it or anybody else has seen it. The old rug clearance center connected to Charlie's is now Greenfront leather. And it is, if you have not been inside, the outside doesn't look much different. The inside is amazing. It has this cabin / Montana Yellowstone vibe that really lends well to selling leather. And that's a big part of our business. If you're trying to sell a $4,000 leather sofa, you got to romance it a little bit. Awesome view of the river, probably the best view of the river in town. We opened up a few windows that were not there. So again, if you have not seen it, that's very passionate about that. Al Buzek and his team really did a great number on that building. And then also, if you go to building number 12, it used to be our old, the Boneyard. As you can see, we've had a lot of clearance centers. We're trying to consolidate them. So building 12 behind the old Accessories building is now Greenfront Work and Play. We have office furniture on the top level, and then on the bottom level is game tables, bar, motion. So it's sort of this, because of the way COVID was, people are working from home and also entertaining at home, staying at home. So again, that building looks amazing inside if you haven't been in. And we're just really trying to put a bunch of money into these buildings because if people are going to come to Farmville, come shop at retail, it has to be a wow. It has to be amazing. And if it's just kind of borderline, might as well stay in Richmond, stay in DC, stay in wherever, and don't make the drive. So we are really, putting money where our mouth is. A new kids furniture gallery, second floor, building 5, turned out really awesome. It used to be in number 8, just didn't make sense. So now we've been moving that around too. And I guess the other big thing that's not customer facing is we're completely redoing the offices at the Plank Road warehouse distribution facility. So we're going to have pretty much going to be our headquarters number 2. We're going to have customer service, delivery. There's probably going to be about 10 people out there, if not more, and we're actually building it out for the future. Hopefully putting a studio in there too, so we can get better photography for whether it's our new website that we also just launched or social media, things like that. So we're trying to build for the future in terms of capabilities on that side of things. And I guess just something that's going to come in the near future is building number 15, sort of on the corner here, used to be the old Baldwin's next to Starbucks. That, and I don't know when we're going to start, that's going to be Greenfront Modern. We're going to change the whole front, new awnings. I know they look bad, but we're going to do something really cool, hand-painted, says Greenfront Modern, and have just really awesome mid-century glam modern. Just wow. And I really want to make sure there's so much. You can just see that building. There's so many windows. Like, that's going to be an amazing new building, hopefully starting sometime in 2024. And I guess I work with Letterpress, Ilsa, Jen, and the team, and we were just kind of talking about, we do promote Farmville, and just want to make sure y'all know that. And I'm sure you do, but, we're running about $200,000 in ads that are pretty much, when it comes down to it, come to Farmville, shop at Greenfront, stay a little bit. It's NBC 12, some normal broadcasts, but then we also have over the top. We do Peacock, all over the state. We're also doing a really big push for the Hampton Roads area. We had a St. Jude meeting there, fundraiser, and we were giving away a $5,000 gift certificate to Greenfront, and no one knew what Greenfront was. I was like, holy crap! We gotta hit this place. So we're gonna try to get a lot more customers from that area. It's kind of ripe for the picking down there. And then Letterpress also ran a study about the word Greenfront and all of the pretty much the PR ad equivalency of what we're doing is about $1 million. So again, so much of what Greenfront is, it is about being in this awesome small town. And then just kind of want to hit on some things about giving back. We are partnering with St. Jude, doing the St. Jude Dream Home. They have one in Richmond, and then we're doing the Hampton Roads. A builder builds a house, gives it away. We stock the furniture. Obviously, everything's a good cause on the St. Jude front. But then we're also doing the Southside SPCA. Dogs of the Week. I don't know if you've heard it or seen it, but have a little picture of a dog, and they talk about it. And we've given them some money to help do that. And a fair amount of dogs have been adopted. It's 100 something. I was like, oh wow. Not saying that's all us, but just little things like that. We're starting to do, and yeah, that's kind of just a quick update about some things. And any of y'all want to ever come down, check it out, let me know. I'd love to give you a tour, because some of it, you may not be looking for furniture, but in the last couple of years, we've been really doing some improvements to these buildings, and then obviously the back end with our systems, and just we're kind of in it together. So I just want to let y'all kind of know what we're doing, and I think an electric car charger in that front Charlie's parking lot would be helpful. So I'll end on that note. I appreciate y'all having me.
Thank you, Den. I think as an anchor to downtown, it's always nice to know what's happening down there, and we recognize what a great draw Greenfront is for the town of Farmville, and appreciate all those efforts to update those buildings and continue to shine a light on what we do here. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I invite Den to stay for about another 30 minutes, and he might see what he just alluded to in a minute.
That's right. Thank you. Do we have any questions at this time? No. Not hearing any, we will move into that presentation. The next one is ABM's presentation, where we will probably touch on some infrastructure items to do with modernization.
Mayor and council, if you remember, Whit and Chrissy are back with us to have hopefully one of the final presentations, if you will, and I won't steal their thunder, but we've been working with them several months, obviously, and we've come down to giving you a presentation of what we feel is what we should accomplish from their research in working with us in the town of Farmville. So please listen closely.
Right. No need for any introduction. Scott just did everything for us. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having us, Mr. Mayor, members of Town Council, Dr. Davis, and leadership team. We're excited to be able to share with you the results of over a year's worth of working together in this partnership. It was last September that we started doing a feasibility presentation or study for you, and here we are in November. Many months of workshops and measurement and verification, understanding how financing one of these projects and funding these projects work, really spending a good 6 months in understanding your buildings, your town infrastructure, how you work, and how we can help make improvements and really innovate the infrastructure here townwide and inside the buildings of the town of Farmville. You'll see I highlighted where we are today in November. We're going to present to you the findings and the results of this collaborative project development that we have. We'll be asking for approval to move into the project development later this month, and we'd really love to be able to get shovel ready as soon as December, if not January, for you. You can see the bottom there. What we're saying is everything you're going to see in this presentation, we're not asking for your first payment until a year after construction. Please feel free to interrupt me, myself, and Whit at any point in time. We want to make sure that you're with us. This is going to be, there's a lot to go through, but we're going to keep it high level and exciting for you. What has been going on over the past year is we've been working on a very comprehensive townwide and building-wide technical audit process for you, where we've been understanding your consumption, your utility patterns. Each building that was included inside of the investment grade audit and development has been touched and understood from the rooftop all the way down and inside every mechanical closet that you have. From there, we've also thoroughly understood your utility bills and what you're spending, as well as consuming on paper and inside the buildings. We use that information to give you true, accurate understanding of your spend, your costs, what you can save, and what you will earn in revenue from the investments and the innovations we're going to be presenting to you. The buildings that we have looked at are bus facility, town hall, Department of Public Works, the fire department, probation and parole, South Sea Conference Center, the sports complex, train station, and the wastewater treatment plant and water treatment plants. From those buildings and townwide outside of those buildings, we have some pretty comprehensive stack lists for you that we'll be looking through. Townwide innovation efforts that we have for you are the water meter and AMI upgrades. We're looking at solar solutions for you. We're also looking at parking infrastructure solutions, upgraded parking meter solutions for you, and EV charging stations. In addition to inside of the buildings, energy conservation measures like water, lighting, anything where we can help some heating as well as cooling and air conditioning as well. Whit's going to go into probably the most exciting of the solution stack that we have for you, and that is water meter and AMI.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I wanted to take some time to talk about the water meter and advanced meter infrastructure solution that we have developed with the team here, because it is one of the largest components of the overall project package, and it's one that's going to bring a significant amount of improvements to the town. We looked at multiple manufacturers and technologies for the town of Farmville. We settled in on two that we really got pricing on, and as well as thoroughly evaluated the technology that's offered for both the water meters as well as the advanced meter infrastructure technology. We wanted to make sure we were looking at a fixed base network. That means that you don't have to roll the trucks anymore to read the water meters. The water meters themselves have an antenna that's powered by a battery that sends that signal up to either a collector or a cellular network. The main two differences, we looked at the master meter, which is a radio frequency signal. So under that solution, the town would need to deploy collector assets on some of the town water towers and would be responsible for maintaining those collectors, which gather that information and then send it to town hall where it would be collected. The Badger solution is a cellular solution, so therefore there's no need to have the additional infrastructure that's required to collect the information from the water meters, because you already have an existing cellular network in the town of Farmville. So these water meters will actually utilize that and provide that real-time data. So both solutions were very similar in cost. The master meter solution did benefit us slightly better on a revenue standpoint because you get revenue when you upgrade water meters, because now you're accounting for 100% of the water that goes through the water meter, and you're also operationally saving fuel and other expenses that are associated with manually reading water meters. However, even though you can see the comparisons of these two, we did feel that the Badger meter solution has a better long-term financial benefit because the town is not responsible at all for any network infrastructure issues. If a cellular network goes down, it's not on the town to fix that. That is on the network providers that are in the town, be it Verizon or the other wholesales. So this brings us to what we're recommending in this package, which is the Badger meter, the cellular technology solution. You can see all of the wonderful goodies that comes along with that. One of the things that the town has struggled with is identifying leaks. I recall there was a story about a water main that had broke out in a rural part of the town and wasn't identified. Obviously, that's water that you've paid to produce. That's just going out on the ground. You're not getting any revenue for it. We're going to be implementing a town-wide leak detection system. It's a very sophisticated system. It also communicates wirelessly, but it tests for transient pressures as well as acoustics. So it will alert for town-side leaks. So we're really excited to be able to give that or have that technology for Rob and his team to be able to be proactive when it comes to addressing leaks. From a customer standpoint, there's a really cool app that's called, wrote it down here, Eye on Water. So from a computer or a smartphone device, any town customer can look up their water usage as well as set alerts. So if there's a leak, and a leak is determined if there's continuous 24-hour usage, or they can set limits and get alerts to certain water conditions, high and low, much like you would in your bank account. If your bank account goes below a certain amount, you would get an alert. If it goes above a certain amount, you can get an alert. So it really gives your town residents and business owners the ability to really manage their water consumption a lot better than they can do right now. So those are really powerful tools that are going to go along with this solution as well. Any questions? Yes, sir. They are headquartered in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
I'm sorry, the Badger meter is, they're out of, I'm sorry, where are they out of again?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin is their headquartered.
Okay, and the closest place that they would be, if we needed someone to come out, would be from where?
From Richmond.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure they had a base in Richmond or
They do,
Lynchburg.
absolutely.
Okay.
Now, we deal directly with the manufacturer because we get manufacturer direct pricing. So we don't have to go through the dealer, but there are dealers in Richmond where you can get parts and things like that. Part of our project, we are going to make sure there is a adequate stock of equipment, because if a meter goes bad, the easiest way to address that is to send somebody out, change the meter and the antenna out, and then let the warranty process work. So we're going to make sure there's plenty of material left behind. But yes, as the town grows, new neighborhoods go in, this equipment is easily sourced just out of Richmond and can be, installed they also, from the inventory standpoint, they haven't suffered a lot of the supply chain issues that some of the other companies that manufacture overseas have.
Thank you.
I see it says remote shut-off. So if we did have a major leak, would it be shut immediately off?
So the remote shut-off meters are, actually, there is a percentage of meters that we've included that the town can actually turn off a customer's water for non-payment or for any other reason they so choose. I would imagine that would be the only reason. So there's, I think it's about 70 that we've included, and that came from, the town has identified that's kind of the number of, that we would like to have that capabilities to be able to not have to roll a truck out to cut water off. It can be done in the office.
So you can set that number, any number we want. We could put it for all 3,000 water meters, but we're not going to do that because there's a price to that. The ones we gave them are frequent flyers.
Yep. So it eliminates the need for any, confrontational, when you're showing up to somebody's yard, cutting water off, and do that. Click of a button.
I'm curious as far as Scott, our town manager, mentioned 70. If we were so inclined and said wanted 80, we can add on to that number at any time, am I right?
Absolutely.
Okay, just curious.
Absolutely. And that technology, that's another advantage of the Badger technology. Their automatic shutoff meter is made by Badger, so all of the systems work together. Some of the other manufacturers, you have to go to a third party to get that, so that's introducing another component that's not part of the suite and could cause problems. So yes, you could buy additional automatic shutoff meters in any quantity at any time.
Will they maintain the entire system, or will our employees be able to switch out something that goes bad?
So there'll be, as part of our, now we're going to handle, we'll get to that in a later slide, we're handling all the turnkey installation, all the interaction with, town residents and customers, answering questions, things like that. There's going to be training involved. So all of the meter technicians will know how to, because in addition to changing a meter out, you've got to program it. You have to be able to, there's a number that has to go into the system so it knows that this meter is now attached to this residence. So everybody's going to be trained on how to do that, because there will be instances where you need to, add a water meter here or change one out. So the staff will be trained on how to do that.
Yeah, the answer to your question is initially, we will not install them.
No.
It's a turnkey process. After the fact, our employees will be trained in order to install any new and remove the old.
Thanks.
And to kind of speak about that, these projects they're very big projects, and it's very hard for utility to kind of take these on. We've got a 4-month schedule, and that's we're utilizing 4 to 5 crews that have 5 mechanics, project managers. All of the vehicles are going to be identified as, ABM. There'll be mailers that go out in the mail. There'll be a phone number that our project foreman answers. So if somebody gets home and there's somebody working on their meter, they're not calling the town to ask questions or complain. All of that is going to be fielded through our ABM field personnel. I'm sorry if there was a question there. So that's why we say communication matters, because we can host town information workshops, because the technology that residents are going to have, I think it's good to educate them on why the town's doing this project, for all the benefits for the town, but also the resident and business owner gets a lot of benefits as well. So a lot of prep work. We've done a lot of preparation. That's why we're able to provide, a packaged price with a guaranteed price and outcome. But we do, extensive surveying to make sure all the equipment we order is the right equipment. We were talking with Robin the other day. He said all my large meters have different lay length. We're like, yep, we know that. That's why we're going to take a complete inventory, make sure we order the right equipment. And then the IT prep is really big. We have to make sure that there's no interruptions in billing. So we're integrating a new software with the existing billing system. So those data packages will go over seamlessly to allow for that billing component to continue without any hiccups. So just to kind of reiterate some of those components, ABM is going to be that turnkey point of contact. We're sourcing the materials, handling all the materials, putting them in the ground, geotagging every single GPS location for every single water meter that goes in the ground. There's going to be pictures that go along with that, training, keeping customers informed. So it's a lot that goes into that installation process. From the technical side, we kind of talked about that, but just the daily reporting, the commissioning, Again, I can't stress how much, just putting a meter in the ground is one thing, but being able to get that technology to integrate with the new meter database management system, and then with the existing billing system, it's critical. So that's why you see all this technical information and preparation. We've developed our own proprietary software that we use to aid in that. It's not the first one we've done, so we bring that expertise to the town of Farmville.
You talk about the billing and everything. Is this going to impact our billing system as well? The way we do online billing, will that change? Out of curiosity.
No, that's what he's talking about. What the technology that is drawing this information will integrate with our Edmunds system
Okay.
for billing and how we do our cash management.
Okay.
Yep, good question. Any other questions? I believe that wraps up the water meter component of it. There's just some samples of reporting that we provided just for some additional information. But I think, one of the things that I would like to include in another slide would be some of those customer-focused, some of the snapshots of the applications that businesses and residents can use, because I think that's important as well. But any questions about the water meter, the technology, the installation?
Yes,
Support?
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious, and I'm not holding you to anything, but in an average installation of a water meter, how long would a customer or user be without water during that transition? Would it be any length of
No more than
time?
30 minutes.
Okay.
And usually 15. So what happens is we'll do door hangers on the routes that we're going to change out for that week. So the customer is made aware that there's going to be an interruption in service. We're going to go to the door and knock on the door. So if they're inside washing clothes or whatever, we can then schedule with them at time to come back. So we're not going to turn somebody's water off unless they say it's okay, but we'll shut that off, we'll make that change out, and then we'll run an outdoor hose to flush out anything that have gotten into the water lines. Again, there'll be that number there that if they have any concerns or questions once they've left, and we take pictures of pre and post. So we can take a picture of what the condition looks like prior, and then we've got a nice little video we can show you too of how we lay down tarps. So when we leave, the customer doesn't even know what's happened except for they've got a brand new lid and a door hanger that said their water meter's been changed out.
How about with our larger customers who use big volumes of water and
Great
that type of
question.
thing?
So they're a different animal. They're all going to be scheduled because depending on if they have a lot of large commercial meters have bypass. So we can turn the bypass on and still provide them water while we change the water meter out. In those cases, that's pretty simple. We'll let the business owner know that's what we're going to be doing, but there's no interruption in service. Where there needs to be an interruption, that would have to be scheduled to make sure they're not down in any way. Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got this question. Does ABM have this Badger system in place anywhere in state or?
Not in the state, but this system is very popular. It's actually being deployed right now in the community that I live in, Chesterfield County. So it's a very popular system that's going in throughout a lot of communities. If for the ones we've put in, I'd have to get back to you. They're not in Virginia. I take that back. We did put Badger in Emporia, city of Emporia. We used actually 2 different manufacturers there, and there was some different reasons for that. But we did put Badger on their large commercial meters, the city of Emporia.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's just some additional reporting. Really, that's what we had for the water meters. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to. And we've got some of the other additional fun things to talk about.
All right, moving into an additional town-wide scope item that we have for you is parking meter, innovative parking meter solutions. Knowing that the town of Farmville still has a coin-operated and a pay station solution currently, what we're going to be recommending to you and what leadership team has selected is an opportunity to upgrade and innovate and expand what you're providing to your end users and your community residents and visitors. So you will have upgraded single space meters throughout the town. These will not just have coin, they will have card and coin. The expectation is, as we all well know, we're using card far more than we're finding coins in our pockets these days. So this will increase your revenue potential because people are more likely to spend more money when they have cards, so they want to be safe, and what they have, and they can have more hours and time limit than if they had just a couple of quarters. So you'll have upgraded parking meters or pay stations at the single meters. In addition, you'll have upgraded multi-space pay stations. Same thing goes, you'll have expanded and far easier to use app capabilities, as well as the card and the coin at the multi-space pay station, like where we're parked at the South Side parking station. In addition, you will have an opportunity for your end users to use a parking app. Most of us in every location that we're going to and traveling, apps are far more commonly used these days. So this will take you to another level where people can use an app to pay a little way easier to use than currently. And the expectation is, again, people are going to use the app, kind of pay a wider amount than they would just to be safe in their parking. So your revenue between that versus the coin citation will increase significantly. When we say that, we're saying this is a pretty busy visual. I apologize for that, but let me take you through what it's saying to you. The town of Farmville currently makes just over $61,000 from your parking revenue. That is from actual parking at the pay station as well as the citation revenue. The expectation is, and what we see every time, is when you can incorporate this upgraded and expanded solution set or pay options, people are far more likely to overpay in the card and upfront, but you will get less citation revenue. You will expand 3 times, if not 4 times, that you're earning from just having card and app opportunities as well, though. So that 61,000 is that top left number that you have. That is your current annual revenue. What you're seeing below it is we are asking Farmville, or it has been elected that in order for Farmville to really take advantage of this expanded solution, parking rates would need to change from 25 cents per hour to $1 per hour. That with that. Each 5 years.
Actually, I think it's 25 cents for 30 minutes.
That's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
yeah.
My bad,
So-
50 cents per hour.
So it's
50 cents
50
an
per,
hour.
so you're going up 50 cents, $1 per hour.
We'd had to pay for my parking, so that's
I mean, a whole dollar.
whole
To park.
dollar. Yes. So we will be increasing the per hour rate, and each 5 years, we're anticipating an additional increase for that. So you do see each 5 years that payment amount, that dollar raises to $150, $120, $150. You can see the increase over each 5 years. We also did a modeling, which is what you're looking at the bottom half of that screen, and it's really just showing you, looking at the adoption rate of people when they have the opportunity to pay for using card and app over coin. We gave you a couple of different options where it's maybe 60% are coin, 40% are card and app, maybe 30-70, and maybe 80-20. We went with the middle of the road, not too aggressive and not too modest, and basically that resulted in bad eyesight. Over 20. $1.4 million in additional net revenue for the town of Farmville from incorporating the expanded, upgraded parking solution. Any questions here? Sorry for my bad eyesight.
And I see that, and it looks nice, but it looks like the majority of the increase in revenue is because we've gone from 50 cents an hour to at some point $3 an hour. Now, 20 years from now, $3 an hour might not be a bad price, but just that's what I've noticed about that.
I mean, if you go any populated area, it's way more than $3 per hour now, much less 20 years from now.
And the comment I'll make is that it's the town of Farmville's decision to what to charge for parking. We're simply providing a model that shows, likely your parking rates won't be stagnant for 20 years. So conservatively, a 25 cent every 5 years. But it's up to the town. We've just modeled it this way. But ABM, we're not tying you to any sort of increase.
If we don't do $1 though, then there's no sense in changing meters.
Right.
I get that. I get that.
There's no point in upgrading to having an app or credit card, because at that point, we actually lose money if we don't charge a minimum of $1.
I get that.
And then What they haven't said is any fees is passed to the consumer. So in other words, the town's not paying the fee for the convenience fees of the credit card charge, just like if you pay your water bill in the town office, at the finance office. The consumer pays the convenience fee for a credit card. Same thing if you use the app, the convenience of the app goes to the consumer. So if you use the app, you're probably gonna pay $1.39 for the parking per hour than you are $1. If you have 4 coins, though, it's $1.
Are these meters only workable, I guess is the word, if you have an app, or you can use the meter standalone or an app?
Any of the 3 options. The single space meters will be card and coin. So the ones on the street, those will be card and coin. But anytime that you're
And app.
using,
Yeah,
oh, yes.
3 ways.
All 3.
Out of curiosity, what's the lifespan of the meters and maintenance on them?
So the batteries will last, so it has a solar head on it, so it charges the batteries. So it depends on if it's shaded a lot, but your batteries are gonna last 12 months or more. That is something like you have to do currently. So there's no additional maintenance item than what's currently having to be done with batteries. But the actual unit itself, unless it gets destroyed, I mean, it's a heavy, durable metal plastic modular lid. So I don't know off the top of my head if it has a guarantee for 20 years, but it's a pretty rugged piece. We could find out what the guarantee is.
I'm just concerned as what the lifespan of a meter would be as far as if we were to switch over for the longevity standpoint.
Robin's not here, but I can tell you that the ones we have now, I have heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julie, in our meetings, that the guts of those meters, because of the age of these, are getting harder to replace as they are. So it's just like any software or anything else. There is a useful life before they stop manufacturing and begin manufacturing new models that they don't support the old model any longer. What that is, they can find that out for us. But typically, in today's time, nothing is, they don't keep the same model because they want you to buy something new.
Right, it seems like, I mean, ultimately what it boils down to is, do we advance technologically into the modern world or not? And at some point it becomes impossible to stick with what you got because parts become obsolete and you got to move forward.
And it wasn't a sophisticated polling by any means, but I've been coming to Farmville for my whole life, and we've talked to some of the businesses, and they're like, people come in and try and get change, and we don't even carry change. So you get disgruntled businesses because you have a customer that wants to park out in front of their store, but they can't get change. So I think there's another component to it too, that just from an optics, I think people are going to pay and not worry about having to run in and run out because they don't have change.
I definitely hear about it from quite a few folks.
So this is $1 an hour that we would have to minimally get, right? Okay.
Yes, for like the next 5 years or so, yeah.
Now, when we get to the revenue, this project as a package overperforms very well. So we could model this differently and show you what a result would be if you were to play with the rates or do something different with the rates. But we'll get to that, but just keep that in mind.
But it is a key point to know that these rates are decided by you. We plug it into the system and it is set for you. So at any point in time or increment, you decide to make a change that is not listed here, you have that through us.
I mean, think about, like I said, if you go most other places, you're not going to pay 25 cents for 30 minutes. And my question is, how long has it been 25 cents in Farmville? Has it not gone up? I mean, the only other option is you do away with meters. And in my understanding, before my time here, that's been talked about of, you have business owners that want meters, you have business owners that don't want meters, because people will just stay parked all the time. So somewhere along the way, we've got to we've got to come into the modern age and have something that people want other than coins.
You might possibly get lucky enough, too, to keep some merchants from parking on Main Street that abuse the parking to begin with. I've kept pretty close eye on that, and there's quite a bit of that going on, actually. Maybe it would slow that down some as well. And for the record, I paid $5 for 30 minutes not too terribly long ago at a parking meter.
We did do a fair amount of due diligence in deciding and modeling these rates, so we did also look at areas like Lynchburg, Williamsburg, Richmond, just neighboring areas that are also charging for parking that people visit. You know, obviously, Greenfront and the colleges that we have on site bring a lot of attention here. Lynchburg's already charging $1.
I think Den.
Williamsburg's too.
You have buckets of change, don't you? Yeah. That's right. The general thought is right. Like if you're not having to dig through everything to try and scrounge up some change, you'd probably be happier to drop the dollar off your card or off your app, as opposed to having to fight for change or go in and beg somebody for change, or the uncomfortable inconvenience of it far outweighed by the convenience of paying via an app or your card.
Or drop $5 because I don't want to have to worry about it.
That is more common what we have found and what our partners, our subject matter experts, that is the case. People will max out just because they don't want to have to think about it. They know $5 and they know there's no risk.
The other thing to think about is, and Mr. Parrott brings up a good point, separate from this, that we can have a conversation at another point is, do we also raise the cost of the fine and make it to where people don't want to pay the fine instead of paying the dollar to park there?
Well, and it definitely gets to the conversation of we are in pursuit hotly and have been for quite some time of being a destination, and we are increasingly that destination. Increasingly, I hear from people from Richmond, Charlottesville, and those localities who love coming here, and they're used to those rates now. I can say as a local resident, I know of plenty of places I can park where I don't have to pay, and I can just walk a block. So that's the benefit of being local, is having that knowledge. But yes, and it would probably, to Mr. Parrott's point, may persuade some of our business owners from camping on Main Street.
How about, can you do, maybe this is an obvious question, but I can't get the thought in my head. Can you pay for more than 1 hour, your initial thing? Up to what point? Is that determined by the towns?
Determined by the town, but yes, you can now and you will be able to just max out from the start. Just if you wanted to have a 5-hour limit, you could just, an end user can max out and just be done with it.
Our limit right now is not that high, though. I think it's 2-hour limit.
And that would stay with the town, the duration.
Any other parking meter specific questions? Okay. So in addition to parking meter solutions, an additional parking solution that will gain Town of Farmville additional revenue points, as well as energy efficiency, movement, and innovation, is electric vehicle charging stations. You will have a complete turnkey installation with ABM and full support from our team. We have selected with the leadership team 2 locations for 2 EV charging stations at each, one being at the Plaza Lot, which is very close to Greenfront, and the other being at the Farmers Market. They will each have 2 stations, each have a dual port. So that's 4 charge points at each location. Okay. Any questions? Because there's some technology here, but I don't want to bore anybody. But these are not fast charges. The anticipation is People can be there for 1 to 2 hours while they're shopping at Greenfront, grabbing some lunch, walking up and down Main Street, moving their kid into college, going to the farmer's market, and being a patron and visiting what is Farmville is on the map. It draws a lot of attention.
Would there be something we would do, like for the parking lot by the where the caboose is over there, what you're calling the plaza lot? What would you do to keep people from what would we have to do to keep people from parking there that are not EV?
So we would have to put up no parking, no regular vehicle signs, and then we would have to come up and institute a fine for that parking.
This is Universal, this is not Tesla alone. That's correct.
Is there, I don't know anything about electric vehicles as far as what it costs. Is there some benefit to the town for having this, or is it just a convenience for the public?
There is definitely a benefit for you. We did this part of the solution set and how you're going to be capturing it is more from a how long will it take to pay back the return on investment. Not necessarily like we're talking with the water meter side where we're talking about really understanding what the revenue potential would be and accuracy. This is potential mock-ups once again because we just want to get payback. But we did model some options for you what it will do for the town of Farmville financially. Let's say in a scenario of those four parking stations, let's say there's 4 people that charge in a given day. Let's say each of those charges is 1.5 hours in duration. That would gain for you $4,400 per year per station. That's $70,000 per year amongst the 4 stations in revenue, in addition to a 4-year payback. So your return on investment is there in addition to potential revenue that will just be for you.
I think that the task that we were provided was, we just want to look, we don't want to get hurt by this solution, but we don't necessarily want to bank on it to make money. So give us a conservative estimate of how they're going to be used, what's the payback for the town. So the town's got to come up with roughly 60-some thousand or 70,000 to install these. When you look at the numbers, it'll pay back within 4 years. Any money beyond that would be additional revenue, but we didn't use that in any of the modeling because, again, the town really wanted to look at this as how can we enhance economic development, support our businesses, but not on the same hand get hurt financially.
So that came from town admin staff of saying, get what they just described. And that's because of us hearing from people like Den or others that have shared that they would really like to see EV charging facilities in downtown. The only other ones, not to steal their thunder, they're going to show you are in 2 other locations in town, but it's not downtown. And where people can come, sit there, their car's parked there, but they can go do something else, and we're going to make money off of them spending money doing something else that you can't capitalize. Well, they can't capitalize in their material to say what that is.
Can I circle back for a minute to the meters for 1 second? Will the meters have the capability to take a photo and issue a summons?
Parking meters?
Yeah.
Parking meters?
No, they don't. It just has a light on the back that shows whether it's green or it's red. But no, these do not have the ability to take a photo.
Or issue a summons?
No.
Okay. All right, thanks.
When you were in the planning stages of the EV charging stations, I know that at Buffalo Wild Wings, there's a bunch of charging stations. So like considering Den and Greenfront, are 4 enough for down there, considering the number of people that come in downtown?
Well, initially, instead of making a huge investment, let's see what these 4 do, and then depending on what that outcome is, we can always take up other spaces to add that. But from an initial standpoint, our goal was to say, hey, let's bring EV downtown without breaking the bank and us not making anything, but to a point where it will have some payback in a short period of time. So if these get paid off in 2 years, great, we might decide we want 2 more, and we decide where they go. So it doesn't, but this is just an initial step forward in that direction without breaking it and not knowing what that return could be.
And what's the average time to recharge your vehicle?
This will be about a 2 to 3 hours, so people will get they'll get juice. They'll get up to 50 to 70% of charge if they're there for 2 hours. It encourages a lot of, business to be done while they're waiting for that charge.
Is it anything quicker?
There are fast charge points that's far more expensive.
About how much on the expense?
Twice. Easy.
But can you get twice the revenue?
So if we want to encourage a lot of the commerce, we definitely want to allow that. I'm going to eat, I'm going to shop. That's where we kind of felt like let's try the level 2s and just 4 of them. And then just like we were talking, it's very scalable. If at that point in time, it was so incentivized that there's no question we should do some fast charge points, I think that would be very agreeable.
In your 4-year analogy of a payback for these electric chargers, did you try to hit middle of the road as far as the rate that would be charged to where we would be compatible with other electric vehicle charging stations in town? Will we be right in the middle?
Are there any grants out there for the charging systems?
They looked at, I'll let them speak to that in a minute. The key is that if you look at this map, Farmville we already have some, but if someone's traveling down 460 and they have an EV vehicle from the east to the west or wherever, I mean, right now, we don't have that many. There's nowhere to really stop. So if we put them downtown, which, I mean, if you go, well, the one at Sheetz is only Tesla.
It's only Tesla.
So you can only charge if you have a Tesla. So that's not really a competition.
What
The
about
other ones at Buffalo Wild Wings are universal.
And
But
they're
who
not
wants
fast
to be,
chargers.
but no offense, but who wants to be stuck in that area necessarily for an hour and a half? I'm trying to promote downtown in that there's more to do downtown. So, I mean, we've got to take advantage of all sections of town, but downtown, needs to have these so that we can keep people downtown as well.
What is it?
Level of anxiety planning your trip. And I think more people, like, if they look at this map, they're like, God, do I really want to make that trip? Like, what's going on down there anyways? There's nothing, But it's just timing-wise, and, not everyone has the super long batteries, and you really got to think about it and really plan it out. And just having that there would just make that decision faster.
In a 30-mile radius, north, south, east, west, there is no other charge points past Farmville before you get to Lynchburg or Richmond. So this will put you on the map for a different reason, just as he said.
I guess my question is, we know we need it, but I'm just toying with the fact of maybe we need one fast charge and the other 3 can be the other level.
We can do that. We can model that for you.
I mean, you can model that out and
We can.
let us know. Yeah.
It's not a problem.
Absolutely.
And as far as rebates go, so most of the rebates when it comes to EV charging stations, you have to install it and then you can apply for it. We do have we have a handful that we can work with you on from Virginia Clean Cities as an organization. But
Thank
they
you.
want you to do it and then apply for it.
Thank you.
We will follow up and provide a fast and a kind of combo for you as a follow-up. We'll move on that for you quickly. Any other questions on the EV solution side? Okay. So we're going to move into solar solutions, our last of the town-wide solutions, huge in terms of energy efficiency, and this with the EV charging stations really will set you into another level in terms of energy efficiency and the savings from this option. What we want to do is share with you first the evaluation efforts that we took the leadership team through in terms of understanding what options existed for the town of Farmville. We looked at several different site locations, roof as well as ground mount. Those locations that we narrowed down from all town-wide were potentially at the bus facility, the fire station, the sports complex, the water, and the wastewater treatment plant. We had looked at two different funding mechanisms or paths forward for solar. One being a client-owned. You pay in cash to own your panels, and that is your system. It pays out over 20 or 25 years. The other option is no cash out, power purchase agreement, and you just get a lot of savings. Scott selected the power purchase agreement, no cash out, gain savings.
Well, the other key is, with the other option, not only do we buy them, we're responsible for the maintenance of them. With the power purchase agreement, we're responsible for nothing except savings. And I'm gonna go back, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
The reason we're not moving forward with the other three locations, bus facility, fire station, and sports complex, they were all roof-mounted decisions. And until their roofs aren't, the only one, the bus facility is in immediate need of a roof. The others are not. So there's no point at this time to put solar on a roof that's gonna need replaced in 5 or 10 years, and the solar's good for 20. So at this point, the reason I said let's bring to the council the two that are ground mounted, which they're gonna describe, is because the others we can do in the near future. We can have a ABM-B down the road for these, but it's after we get the structures taken care of as far as their time of roof repair or replacement.
And as part of this, we do have that detailed roof report too that we'll provide, and that'll kind of help build out long-term CIP and when those other things could come into place. But we have kind of settled on to present tonight the power purchase agreement at the two locations, the water treatment as well as the wastewater treatment plant. And as mentioned before, the way a power purchase agreement works, the town does not own the array. The town is simply allowing a third-party investor to place the array on their property, and in turn, you get a discounted rate for your KW usage. So if you're paying 10 cents, I'll oversimplify it, now you'll be paying 7 cents. So that delta is the savings that's captured over 25 years. At the end of the 25 years, the town is presented with the ability to buy that array, or if they say, no, we don't want to buy it, then the power purchase provider has to remove it and put the land like it was. So there is really no maintenance. There's no long-term commitment. You're simply going to benefit from that savings. And we do have those numbers for these two facilities. And again, here's the water treatment plant. Wherever there's a meter, we're able to put in a power purchase agreement because it's a contract with that account. So you've got is it the pump station and then the main station. So those two, and that savings, is it in red where I can't read it?
It is in red.
Okay. You can probably see it on your screen. I can't see it from here, but it's okay.
It's $1,093,002.
Yep. And then at the wastewater, this was a little bit smaller, I believe, but again, you've got the blower house as well as the main plant. So those two combined get you the savings number there.
That one at the wastewater is $963,163.
Right.
Which together takes you just over $2 million.
And they're at these facilities where nobody's really going to see them, so there really shouldn't be any issue with people complaining about, because most people don't go to wastewater plants to hang out. And the reason these facilities are such good sites is because treating water and wastewater is very energy intensive. So they're using a lot of energy at these sites. That's why there's a good payback there. Any questions on the solar? It went away? Some of the graphs are just some of the production.
I have a question.
Yes.
From what I understand with these solar operations, that the panels, there's different kinds of panels you can get, more efficient, but there's also declining efficiency over the years. Is that taken into account for these?
It is.
And also, these land ones, these are actually the way people are going now because they're getting less efficiency being mounted on roofs. You're aware of that as well? So, you know, putting this off the other three, are there any locations by those buildings that we could put them down on the ground instead of up on the roof?
Not that we've been able to find.
Not that we've seen. The only thing that came close was potentially putting a canopy at your library, like in the parking center, having a canopy that had a solar, so it kind of looked like a roof. Fairly expensive, and we weren't sure if the optics would be that all aesthetically pleasing for the town and its residents, so it's an option. We just felt like starting here, these were clear winners for embedding and bringing into this bundled solution for you, this project. But we can look at other options.
And with the declining efficiency as well. I mean, what are the numbers, or when you crunch them up? You start out with 100% efficiency, 80% efficiency or something over the years. And as far as upkeep, aren't you supposed to keep these panels clean? Aren't they supposed to be, you know, washed periodically?
That's the great part about a power purchase agreement. If this was owned by the town, you would be responsible for cleaning those panels to get to production. Inverters have to be changed out every 10 years. Degradation has to be considered. All of that is considered. The power purchase investor, this is what they do. So they're able to give you a contract rate, a discounted rate, and that rate discount has factored into it the degradation of the production loss of the array, as well as the cost that they're going to have to incur to put in the inverters at year 10. So all of that's accounted for. All the town sees is a guaranteed contractual electric reduction rate, and you don't have to worry about any of the other stuff, because if they don't do it, they're the ones losing, because you have the contract that gives you the discounted rate. And that's how they make their money, right? Because they're making money on that margin between what they're getting from that system, the discount they're giving you. Obviously, they're making money or they wouldn't do it. So they've factored in to maximize the production of that. But even if for some reason they don't, you still get the benefit because you have a contractual rate.
Isn't it about 15 acres out by the sports arena?
I don't know the exact size, no.
I know we own a lot of land out there to include the building. And to Adam's point, if it doesn't go in the building, I think there's enough land out there to put one.
That's what I was thinking too. But my question was, as you were talking about, the contract is for 20 years, and then the contract is. And then at that point, you can either buy them or they take them away, or at that point, you get another set. Would they, because they're no longer as efficient, and you want to replace them after the 25 years?
Those panels have really, the degradation is so severe at 25 years, they're not getting the economic benefit of it anymore. So that array would need to be removed. But that's why most people don't buy them, but you could. There could be an option to put new panels because the racking is still going to be in place. So there could be an option that says, we'll put new panels on it, the town can buy it, or you can just renew another power purchase agreement. If you don't want to be in that business, if you need that land for something else, then you could just say no, and they'll take it away. Okay.
Any additional questions on solar? Okay. So what we're going to go to now is talking through, kind of speed walking through the building solutions. I'm going to be, many of the buildings that we have included in the investment grade audit are going to be receiving the same solutions and energy conservation measures. So I'm going to kind of speed up through them because a lot of them are going to be pretty redundant for you. So for the bus facility to start, they'll be getting HVAC controls, LED lighting upgrades, water efficiency upgrades like low flow fixtures in their toilets as well as sinks, as well as roof upgrades, retrofits. Department of Public Works, HVAC controls, HVAC upgrades, LED lighting upgrades, building envelope upgrades, That can be, if you can see from the roof where we need to do some retrofitting, that can be cracks in the doors, ceilings, windows, you name it. That's what building envelope is included in. Water efficiency upgrades once again. Fire department, lighting upgrades, building envelope upgrades, water efficiency upgrades. Probation and parole building, wireless HVAC controls, 1 AC unit will be replaced, install an outdoor air conditioning controls for HVAC, in addition to lighting upgrades, building envelope upgrades, water efficiency upgrades, and roof repair. New roof. Apologize. South Street Conference Center will be getting HVAC controls, LED lighting upgrades, building envelope upgrades, and water efficiency upgrades. Sports complex, HVAC controls, AC unit outside or older AC unit, in addition to lighting upgrades, building envelope upgrades, and water efficiency upgrades. The town hall will be getting a building automation upgrade, LED lighting upgrades where there are not already, building envelope upgrades, water efficiency upgrades, and roof upgrades. Train station will be getting HVAC controls, building envelope upgrades, and water efficiency upgrades.
And if I could just add, when they're talking about HVAC controls, you were on the train station. I'll give you an example. Let's say we've had this before. I think when y'all went to tour it at one time, you know, it was set at 66, 67 degrees. There were no occupants in the building. So unless you manually go in there and change it, and somebody does that every day or after a rental, then it can cool a building and there's nobody in there. What this will allow us to do is set it to where people can't change it when they're there. It's a certain degrees for when they're there. If it's summertime, you know, we can cut it down and then we go raise it back up after the fact and set it to where it goes back to another temperature that to where it's not continually cooling something that doesn't need it on a 24-hour basis.
At the wastewater treatment plant, we'll also be receiving the HVAC controls as Scott described, the LED upgrades, building envelope upgrades, and water efficiency upgrades. Any questions? I know I went pretty fast. Thank you, Scott, for kind of bringing into a little bit more about what those controls will do for the various buildings. But any other questions on building-specific energy conservation measures? Okay, so this is the part that you've all been waiting for. We're going to talk about the culminating moment of all of the slides and all of the information and all of the scope items between townwide as well as within the buildings that we will be providing through the ABM project that the leadership team is hoping for approval on. With the mix of this entire comprehensive innovation and modernization project, the town of Farmville will realize $10 million between revenue and savings between the town solutions as well as building on energy conservation measures. Going a little bit more detailed and granular, I'll have Whit.
So the total package for all the items that we went through today, you can see here is $4.875 million. That will generate, as Chrissy mentioned, over a 20-year guarantee term, $10 million of revenue as well as savings. You can see we've broken those down just for you to kind of see where that's coming from. The biggest benefit is coming out of the water meters and AMI. And you can see solar, parking, as well as the energy conservation work that will be done throughout the town buildings. So when you look at a total of $10 million in benefits, there is an interest component to this project, right? So we're looking at a lease purchase or another financing that would, you know, when you factor in interest, so principal and interest payments would be $7.8 million over a 20-year term, you're still getting over $2.2 million in net benefits from the project. So earlier when I mentioned that, you know, if you decided to do something different with parking, for instance, you still have room to play and this still be a positive project if you decide to be more conservative in, you know, rates and things like that. Any questions about the cost, the net benefits to the project? Okay. Just to kind of zero back, and I think we've talked a lot about, and there's a lot on this slide here, but, you know, we have spent a year working with the team doing what we call an investment grade audit, where our pricing is very comprehensive. It's all of the engineering, design, you know, rigging, commissioning, IT, all these different components that are going into it. So once we present that contract, the scope that's in that contract, we can't change that on you. So if you've ever been involved in a construction project where you've seen change orders and things like that, we don't change as long as the scope matches up what's in our contract. So that enables you to be able to, you know, secure your financing and then have that payment structure be due a year post-construction, which allows the town to recognize those revenue enhancements as well as the savings. Any questions about any of the items here? Okay. I think we hit on the, you know, the guarantee. We operate under the legislative code in Virginia, which is allowed for energy savings performance guarantees. So we are providing, you know, these guarantees associated with the energy savings. We've also calculated, you know, the accuracy that you're going to pick up from, for instance, the water meter solution. So those things, you know, enable us to put these numbers and have that assurance that the project is going to perform the way we're describing it. Any questions about that? Okay, everybody must just be tired. I promise you we're wrapping it up. Kristen, you want to take us home?
Yes, absolutely. So just as a true recap to everything that we've shared with you and the time and the year of partnership that we've had together thus far, this program gives you one single point of accountability, us. We're going to give you a measurement and verification so that year over year over year, you're able to see and quantify and report back to each other as well as your residents what you've gained and what you've saved every year factually from this project. You will be demonstrating huge amounts of fiscal stewardship as well as a community that is embarking on a huge innovation for it. So this is a huge and exciting opportunity that we want to be a part of. And like we're saying, this is a co-authored process. We have vetted all the pricing, we have vetted all the measurements and all the operations, we have quantified. Those savings are guaranteed to you. We will cut a check for you, that's the difference. That's not something that you would get from any other contractor down the street. And having a single source accountability from managing all of these projects, let alone each, you can trust in us to take this off your hands and help your support team and your maintenance team. In addition to all of the savings and energy savings that you have and revenue enhancements that you will gain, if that was just not enough, we wanted to be able to show you some environmental impacts of the good deeds that you are doing for your environment and your community. So if any one of these resonates with you, we just wanted to share with you what good deeds are doing for the environment. That's it. If there's any other questions, we're here for you. Otherwise, we will start working on feedback and some follow-up additional information for you.
Thank you. And this is not something that we are being called to vote on. Y'all are not being called to vote on at this time, so you've got at least a week to kind of mull over some of this information. It'll probably pop up on next week's agenda.
The only key is the rates that they have from the companies that do the water meters, the charging stations, all those types of things. That's it's fixed price right now till the end of the calendar year. If we go beyond that, the numbers you see here can change. Not trying to say I'm rushing you, make a decision by any means. But we've also, in order for us to do that, we've got to be able to have your approval for me to sign the contract with them and then get the leasing numbers in for what that's going to be, and you agree for me to sign that. So we are on somewhat of a timetable in order to get this done in the next few meetings before the end of the calendar year.
Can we get a copy of this presentation, please?
Absolutely. If you'll allow me to PDF it, I'll send it to you tomorrow morning if that's okay. That way it'll get through the email server.
And I saw y'all taking notes on some of the questions, so I assume we'll get back some of that info as well.
Yeah, I took note of the 15 acres that's near the sports arena, just for us to have in our minds.
I think it's a little more than that.
A little bit more than that?
I remember it's around 15, but you can look at it.
Well, and can we do bigger solar at a place like that, and it would just put it back on the grid as opposed to just for that location? I mean, if we have the space there, can we do more? I mean, that's just a question.
I mean, that question would have to be answered from whoever would be interested in the purchase power agreement. Dominion, putting it back on the grid, they have to approve whether they're gonna do that or not, whether that's feasible for them. And so that's a whole different animal. We'll get them to answer your questions, but potentially adding that to this project now might be more difficult in going forward with the majority of all of this to get it done. But it doesn't mean that we can't add that solar possibility in another phase, just like some of the other things. Like if we want more charging stations, obviously we're gonna have to do another phase of this because these work so well, let's hope, that it would be another phase of doing other upgrades.
There's many cases, a lot of our customers will do a 2 or 3 phased approach. In addition, the other note that we have will be a quick follow-up for you, because we do know some mulling over and decisions are being asked. But we're going to look at a couple of combinations between a 1 fast charge and maybe a level 2. So we'll look at a combination for you and see what can pencil out fairly financially for you.
Thank you.
No problem.
I think it's a pretty, as you said, exciting thing to contemplate for sure as we envision Farmville into the future, and what we want to be and how we want to be available to the people who come to visit. So I thank you all for your time. Do we have any other additional questions at this moment for ABM? Not hearing any. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is the finance report from Ms. Julie Moore.
Good evening. You have the September 2023 charts and reports in front of you. We are 3 months into the fiscal year 24. Revenue should be about 25% of the budget, but it's not, and it's the same story I've given you the last 2 months, that revenue doesn't come in like certain things like business licenses and like real estate taxes. They're built once a year, and that's when you get it in, whereas the budget's assuming you're getting it every month. So revenue compared to prior year, though, we're slightly down, and that's basically in the general fund, and some of that is due to taxes too. So we get communication and sales tax and some utility tax from the state, and that's all delayed. So what you get in September is really for August or July. So when we get that, we book it into that month. So September's, we won't get to either October or November. Depends on, because some of them are 1 month behind and some are 2 months behind. But last year, once we know the number, we book it to that month. So you're kind of not looking at apples to apples, because you have last year's booked, this year's not, and that's why revenue looks down. Also in the previous year, we had transferred money over from the sewer fund. So far, we haven't had to do that this year, and we're hoping we don't have to do that. And we had gotten some grant money or state money, like the law enforcement and fire department money. These we're going to get, we just haven't gotten yet. Expenses, in summary, total expenses are up. Total expenses compared to the budget are not 25%, so that's a positive outcome. Once again, department heads are actively monitoring their budgets. Expenses versus prior year were slightly up compared to prior year, and that's due to several things. One is the OpenGov software that the finance department purchased. The recreation purchased the equipment for the splash pad, so that's in this year's expenses. And also, we make that $350,000 contribution to the IDA that we didn't have last year. And then the bond payment was made in September this year, whereas last year we didn't make it till like October 1st. So that's swinging the water fund too, because that bond payment is in this month's expenses, whereas last year didn't show up to October. Do you have any questions on the reports? Okay, a couple other items. So next week, you're gonna get another resolution to roll budgeted funds over from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. And they were left out of the resolution that we gave you last month. And it's just because our admin software, because it had been paid, it didn't show up on the open PO report. And so we didn't catch it until we were tying out our budget. So next week, you're just gonna get that. And that's for a couple of, one of them is the splash pad equipment. A chunk of it was paid in July, and so that's a big chunk of it. And then the town server was another one, and I can't remember the third one. But I think the other one wasn't that material. So you're gonna get that next week. Also, you're gonna get, on your council package, I'm so excited. You're gonna get the audit and all of the letters and stuff. So I'll encourage you guys to review that over this weekend so that next week when the auditor comes and presents, you can ask tons of questions, okay? And if you have trouble sleeping, I encourage you to open it up and read it because I'm sure it will help put you back to sleep, so.
Is it going to be as well done as your previous audits?
Yes, yes. Do you guys have any questions?
Do you have any questions for Ms. Moore at this time? Not hearing any. Are you speaking to the parking decals, or is
Yep.
Mr. Davis speaking to the parking decals? You're going to tag team it? All right. Residential permit parking decals.
So let me start off by saying we had two questions when we left the conversation at the end of a meeting. Mr. Dwyer brought up when we ticketed some folks. So it was asked to look at two different things. Mr. Dwyer asked for us to look at not charging for residential parking decals in the currently marked areas of town that are for resident parking only in those areas, and by permit only, I should say. And then we had a question by Mr. Hunter of what if we did the whole town wide, and how many houses that would be, and what would that look like? And so we have the numbers here, and after she gives you the numbers, I'm going to give you the true feasibility of any of that.
Okay, so if we wanted to give every resident that has a Farmville address 2 parking decals, because per the ordinance, you get 2 for the residents, and then you can get 2 like guest passes. So there's 1,931 Farmville addresses. Multiply that by 2, that gives you 3,862 decals. By the $5 we charge, that would get you $19,310 in revenue. The cost to create the parking decals would be $3,180.90. So then what we actually got, if we just stayed like we were, the revenue for this year has been $1,900, and last year is $1,225. And the cost for the decals that we had created this year was $833.56.
So what you're saying is it's not a money-making venture.
No, it's not.
So in the feasibility of it all, I would say that it's not feasible to make everybody in town get a parking decal. Because if we boil it back down, the whole reason that this was ever done is it was on areas where we saw, before my time, obviously, college students parking to be closer to campus instead of paying for campus parking. So that's why you have parking back here behind our building, like on Virginia and Bridge Street, that are marked. You have all around areas in the avenues, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, those at Hill Street, schools, all those in that area, because it's so close to campus. But you also have it is just as close for some that they're on Beach Street and others, because as other places started becoming campus housing, but also had residential, you saw people parking over there, but you still have some residents outside of college residents parking. I'm not usually in favor of providing something. It usually has to be something tangible for when you receive something. We have folks that are upset with us now that they want 5 decals because they got 5 cars. Well, the code says you get 2 decals, and it also says that you have to be able to park in front of your residence. You can't park in front of Dan's house just because you've got a parking decal. That's his. And I mean, we can't fit 5 cars in front of a residence, and if you look on 2nd Street, most lots aren't going to allow you to fit 5 cars in front of it. It's 2, and then you have 2 guest passes. I really think you only have 2 options. You leave it as it is. People pay for their parking decal, pay for something that they're getting, and then, or you do away with parking, permit parking altogether. But I think you're going to run into the issue again of you're going to have not a way of making sure that those folks that don't have driveways or don't have areas to park other than the street, we're going to be back at the same spot we're in. It's just a matter of, I mean, one lady called us and she goes, I didn't talk to her. I think Ms. Vaughn did. Well, the last time I got my decals 4 years ago, I was able to get more by somebody that was there back then. Well, I'm sorry you were able to get that many back then. The code says 2. We'll sell you 2. But that's all we can provide you. I can't help if you got 6 vehicles. You can only get 2 permits. So I don't know sometimes that we're going to be able to make everyone or even a few happy with this the way it is, because someone's going to be upset if we take the permitted parking away, and then you're going to get those to get tickets because they haven't done their due diligence to get their decal because they got a ticket. The only thing I say we'll do better is putting out, it's time to get your decal. Come get your decal. It's due July the 1st. Come get it. And that type of thing. And as a reminder, as best as we can for people to get their decals. But I don't see the benefit in charging nothing for the time that our staff is at the window doing this work. And definitely not townwide as far as parking.
I think what it boils down to is this was kind of raised because people got ticketed. That's why this happened. That's why we heard about it. We didn't hear about it for the last year. It wasn't an issue. Didn't come before this body for any other reason than the fact people got ticketed. So if you just make awareness a little more paramount, then I think you nix that issue in itself because people are aware. I think there's some value in the idea that letting folks know that, you see online where people like talk about greed. It's all about greed. This is not a money-making venture. This was derived because constituents complained that students were parking in front of their house. That's how this came to pass. Like that's why we have this thing in place. Having a discussion about whether or not we want to continue having it in place, you could have that discussion, but I think that you will then have the same people who wanted it in place originally get mad again. And so you're kind of trapped in a system of somebody else's making. But that's my 2 cents. Does anybody have any discussion around this parking decal issue?
I do. Not surprisingly. Since it's not a moneymaker, and only a portion of the town seems to be, for good reasons, needing permits, I don't think doing away with them would I think it would create a problem personally. I still can't quite see the, we're not going to, if we were to gift each household 2 permits, plus 2 guest permits, and we mailed them out to those individuals in their water bill as an example, and didn't charge them, I don't see where we're really taking a big hit. But what we have done, then if they don't put them on, that's on them. But what we have done is made it easier for them to obtain permits. I'm not sure I heard the argument against that idea.
One, we don't want to mail them out because the mailing address, even though you live there, that might not be your mailing address. So they would still need to come physically get their decal so that we can verify tangibly that that is where they live and that is their residence. They could be renting a house. It's in somebody else's name. So our tax bill goes to Charlotte, North Carolina. But that person needs to show something that they pay the water bill, they pay their electric bill, that they actually are a resident of that address. And that takes time, and there is a tangible point to that of why we should charge for that, for the service that we're providing for that ability.
I think it also raises the concern that we've talked about a little bit prior, which is if the town is gifting to certain residents, why aren't they gifting to other residents, right? And so you come into an issue when you're treating somebody differently than others. And so if you begin to say, okay, we're going to mail out free decals to everybody on the avenues, then there's people like, well, hey, I live over here and I don't want people parking in front of my house. How can you send me some free decals? You know what I mean? And so it creates an avenue in which there's disparity in the way people are being treated. And I think that might be an issue.
But that would be an argument for Don's suggestion.
That is my argument. That's why I wanted to know what would it be to, what's the cost to give everyone a town decal? But I agree that, sometimes we have to take an account of what we're supposed to do, and we just need to do it. If I'm supposed to pay my taxes, I need to pay my taxes on time. I shouldn't get a reminder that I haven't paid my taxes, because then there's a penalty with that. Because you're going to pay that extra 5% or whatever, 10% or whatever it's going to be. So I think we just need to leave it as it is and let people step up and do what they're supposed to do.
The college students, they have their own decals for parking with student passes, correct? So what if they live on the avenues? Do they have 2? Do they have a town residential tag as well?
Well, if they live in a resident permitted parking area, they have to have, to park on that street, they have to have a resident permit parking decal. The college decal doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
So at this point,
This was done years and years and years ago, and the system has worked. And I agree with the mayor that this was all brought up because it was ticketed, because people got a ticket and they didn't do what they were supposed to do. And I just say leave it well enough alone, because if we did away with this, people are going to complain anyway. It's going to be more headache. You're exactly right. So they're going to be complaining because they don't have a parking spot at that point. So I say leave it alone.
Part of my bringing it up is because these requests were citizen-driven. So I'm bringing them here. It doesn't mean I get my way, or what I think is not really as important as bringing citizens' opinions on it to the group for decisions.
so is consensus that it just gets left as it is, and we just be a little more proactive in our awareness campaign when there's going to be a patrol of those residential parking areas? Or just maybe just a heads
Awareness
up
to
of the
remind them to get
annual
'em.
reminder to get your parking decal.
Yeah, I would rather not us be in the business of saying, beware, we're
Yeah,
coming
I
we're
agree.
issue parking decals. I mean, it goes back, I think, to what Mr. Hunter said. I made this reference at the last meeting we talked about this. You know your car has to be inspected every year. There's a decal on it. It says May of 2023. Every year you should know if you live in a certain area of town, you need a parking decal July the 1st of every year. There's an onus on individuals to follow those rules.
There is, and I misspoke, but we can put that in a water bill that says, like we did previously, that it's time to renew. Yeah.
A friendly reminder is welcomed, I think, but other than that, I strongly encourage us not to change anything.
All right. That seems to be the consensus here. All right, move into another consensus building issue. How about phone-in technology options? This is something we brought up in previous meetings. I think we've all had the info that was cataloged that shows localities. This collection of data shows 4 that have phone-ins, a couple that have Zoom. We have done phone-in as a result of COVID, I think, was the real driving force behind doing the call-in. We do have, of course, public comment at our regular scheduled meetings where people are allowed to come in. We are also still allow email correspondences that will be read as public comments. And the question is, do we need the phone, or can we leave the phone out post-COVID moving forward?
And just to I just want to clarify, the town clerk was gracious enough to reach out to other localities from a listserv that for other town clerks to get this information. And so these are only the ones that responded that we have. Obviously, this isn't all of the localities in Virginia, but these are the ones that were willing to respond to her to give what they've done and what they're doing. If I can just offer my 2 cents of this, I think the phone was a great way to get people that were, especially when we were still having meetings, but they couldn't come, or that they were nervous about coming because of the initial information about the pandemic. But I think at this point in time, as you've seen, the majority of people that phone in are not residents of the town of Farmville. And so, although this is open to anybody in the public, don't get me wrong, the people I'm assuming that we're most concerned about are the residents of the town of Farmville that we do business for every day. And so, they would still be able to come here, and they'll still be able to email us or mail us in postage whatever they want for us to read on their behalf if they can't be here. I just don't know that where we are now that we need the phone-in option for your meetings.
And I know this subject came up because we raised the idea of whether or not we invested in technology to make that a better process. And I think that's what spurred this conversation or this topic being on the agenda. And I have to say that, I think there are a few of us who, there is a concern of, just people from wherever being able to phone in and voice their concerns. They're welcome to show up here and sign up for public comment, absolutely. But to continue with a process by which we give them the ability to just sit at home and call us at will when it's no longer, a pandemic necessity, I think is definitely.
Well, let me ask you, I mean, aren't we about open government, though? You see what I'm saying? I mean, aren't we supposed to welcome anybody to reach out to us?
We are.
I mean, I think we do. We're saying public comment period. You can email us. You can address the body. It's just a matter of one. Our technology is terrible for phone ins. I mean, we have to open. We all have to acknowledge that. So unless we want to invest money in that process and make it a better process, to what end? So I don't know. Is there a opinion either way up here regarding that issue?
I'll gladly give you my opinion. I'm not shy about that. I think we need to step away from the phone technology, personally. I do agree with our town manager in the fact that we're here for our town residents and for the people who we represent. And if they have an issue, there are open avenues of email, mail, in person, which that's what we're here for, is to represent the citizens of the town of Farmville. So therefore, I feel like we've offered them ample opportunities to be able to communicate with us without using the phone technology, simply for the fact that our phone technology stinks.
Is it an all or none thing? Well, let's say you say we want to be here for the town. What if it's an all or none thing? Okay.
I don't think it's the same as, since I've been on council, I can't remember exactly year we started broadcasting our meetings, but I remember it's been 6 or 7 years ago. We were behind the curve on that. We should have been much more, I think, progressive. There are some areas around us that were broadcasting their meetings online before we did. That's a fantastic thing we've done. We've opened it up. We're much more transparent. I think this is that was a wonderful move. I see this as slightly different also.
Yes, it was a COVID response, but Dan's right. It was long overdue, but yes.
I'm wrong in my time frame, but I still see that differently than the phone thing. I don't think that's going to really impact our transparency.
Is there any other avenue that we can open up for like some of the elderly that can't do email and can't show up? Are residents here in town though? I mean, if they can call in and just say this is their concern and we just take a message from them or something like that and it's passed on to us?
Yeah, I mean, they can do it postage, or they can call the clerk's office and give her what they would like said.
Well, to that point.
And who it is, their address, and that type of thing. Can't be anonymous. Yeah.
No, it has to be a resident of the town of Farmville. My concern, like I said, if it's an elderly person that doesn't do email or can't show up, I just want to make sure they have a way, if they can't get in touch with us, to have their voice noted to the clerk. If that's the point, then I'm good with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's been a process, and yeah, we'll continue with that process as well. I know Mary's read quite a few statements from people in the past, but I agree, yes, and making sure people know that that's available. Is this something that we need a vote on, or we just need general consensus on? Just general consensus. We generally good with cutting phone? Looks like a general consensus. I see two who seem a little bit hesitant. All right.
I still think we need the phone, but
What is the cost? Have we gone down that road and even looked into the system? And I'm only thinking about being prepared. Maybe down the road, we just need that system for somebody to do a presentation, or we need a call-in situation. So shouldn't we have the technology available for that type of engagement?
Well, I know in the past during COVID, I mean, we have the ability, we've had people sort of Zoom in, you know, like for presentations. CRC did that during COVID and a couple other folks. I know we have that. This is just, I think, strictly regarding that phone public comment aspect. But there is a way for people to present virtually. Absolutely. All right, we good? Next item on the agenda is the revenue sharing for solar energy projects, which is a discussion we've had and then got an ordinance drawn up by Mr. Elder, who is in attendance. So if we have questions regarding the wording of the ordinance, we can fire away at Mr. Elder. And Mr. Davis, do you have anything to add?
No, this is, like I said before, this is something that we wanted to see if you wanted to put on the books so that if there is some project that comes about and is meaningful and not a huge impact in our area, then the only way it can be done in our zoning ordinances is by conditional use permit. So it's not a by right use. But if you are to approve that, you know, the localities that are doing this are mostly rural counties taking advantage of this, is the reason that, you know, they're getting, these people that own land are getting money, just like we're talking about purchase agreements, that they're guaranteed a certain amount of money. Well, then this is a way for the town to get some type of revenue from that as well, outside of the property owner, and that the state allows, but you have to adopt a local ordinance for that capability. And so this is one that we came back and drafted specifically for the town of Farmville. There is a public hearing on it next week. So if you have any questions, please let us know.
Any questions at this time regarding the ordinance around taxation of solar energy projects? Not hearing any. Next item is the town manager's report. Mr. Davis?
I'll give you a little bit more next week.
Sounds good. We have any additional comments from anyone on council at this time?
I had someone approach me this evening with a couple of a resident that they would like to, their opinion is that there's an additional pedestrian crossing needed, maybe say between Edmond and I believe it's Ray Street that goes up by the street before as you're coming down Griffin, somewhere in there, because there's a lot of students who are crossing into the Avenues area rental properties. They would like to at least have that looked into. Second thing was the same person thought, and I'm sure this is a cost item, but again, somebody's asked me to pass it on, so here I am. Whether we can look at or should look at recycling bins, like most communities have, or some communities have.
Recycling bins where? Because we pick up recycling.
I think he means residential.
Something put the
bin.
recycling into like a bin where it'd be a little bit more contained or whatever.
So like tonight, before I came to council, I dragged my recycling bags up to the curb. I think what Dan's referring, or Mr. Dwyer's referring to is like
A second trash
recycling
can
bins, yeah.
For that purpose, in essence.
Yeah, we would, I'll look into that. I've actually approached that subject before. But you would technically, let me look into that a little bit further.
It's not a
On
bad
how-
concept, like town of Farmville recycling bins that, or, yeah, whatever the cost of that would be is probably what we're looking to.
I think the
get them
last
up.
time it wasn't that many people recycling, and the cost was more than it would be for but I don't know how many people are doing it now. You'd have to tell us.
Well, there's certainly communities that are doing it. I'm just passing it on.
There
I think it's an
are,
interesting
they,
thing.
I will tell you, the community I was in had a separate bin. And actually, the recycle bin was larger than the trash can. The goal was to get people to recycle more so that their trash can wouldn't fill up. And, but we also didn't collect our own trash. So we had a vendor that collected recycling. And so that's all those trucks had in it was recycling. The reason for the bagging of it is because we use waste trucks that we use, put our trash in, to put the bags in it and then take it so that it can be distributed at steps. Because you can't have it, the goal is not for it to be contaminated, but technically. You don't want to have, that's why they ask you, like, if you have certain things to rinse them out, because if not, anyway, that's what I understand from my prior but we can look at that and look at the purpose, and I can bring all that information back.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid, I mean, those are good points, and I haven't thought through the implications one way or the other, just simply putting it out there. Thank you.
Completely similar note, but I feel like I read somewhere, and maybe I'm incorrect, and I feel like my wife also reiterated this to me, that like there were studies done that only 9% of that which we put into baggies to be recycled is actually recycled and reused. I don't know, just food for thought. But
There is certain things that, like glass now, I believe I have this correct. There's not really a market for recycled glass like it used to be. It costs more to do something with it than originally when you were recycling glass. So there's probably something to that, but to say that it's just ends up being thrown in a landfill, I can't say that either. We take it to where it's supposed to go, and I don't know how it's what the sale price is for them to make anything off of it.
all right, any more comments from council at this time?
Just one. Couple of constituents, and I brought this up with Dr. Davis earlier this week. Questions about adding a ramp to Crute Stage to make it more accessible, not just for folks with wheelchairs, but we have a older population, and sometimes I use a cane, but it just helps people get up there and participate in what's happening on the stage. It makes it more accessible. It's a feature, I mean, that I just think, would benefit the community at large. Just wanted to put it out there for a thought.
All right.
But Mr. Dwyer, Edmonds, you're talking about on Griffin Boulevard, another crosswalk on Griffin Boulevard?
That's what was the suggestion, yes.
Okay.
A little further, in other words, there's one all the way up in Moton, there's one at the museum, and the last one might be on.
There's several right in that area where they would, but yeah, I can, there's several on Griffin Boulevard in reference to the university, like.
No, absolutely, I think there's two, but this person was just thinking that.
This is closer to Edmond Street.
Or is it, am I right in saying, as you're heading in the Moton direction on Griffin, that perhaps Race, is that the one before Esmond? I'm not sure I'm calling the right street there, but anyway, somewhere in that area, and I suspect this person is right in that section down there. There's a lot of rental property in there, but anyway, just again.
All right. Any more constituent concerns at this time? Not hearing any. Our next scheduled meeting is our regular council meeting on the 8th, which is next Wednesday at 7 p.m. We will be here at this time. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.